In his acceptance speech as incoming chair, Chakwera motivated African countries to refuse to be treated as second-class citizens of the global village. Wealthier nations, President Chakwera says, are looking down on African nations thanks to the COVID-19 vaccine that came to reveal just how the world is still divided by some nations that consider themselves as first class.
I therefore want to make a larger point to the rest of the global community. The inequalities and disparities we are seeing in the distribution and production of COVID-19 vaccines are symptomatic of an old geopolitical framework that is no longer working, no longer sustainable, and no longer acceptable. I'm referring to a framework that regards the world as an animal farm in which some nations are more equal than others.
He reminded those nations that African countries are full members of the global community and any unfair treatment will be vehemently rejected.
For the sake of the dignity of all human beings everywhere, we as Africans have a moral duty to refuse to be treated as second-class citizens. We as Africans have a moral duty to refuse second-class status in the rules of engagement for participating in the global economy.
In his address, President Chakwera also touched on the continent's economic survival, reminding fellow leaders that it is time to fully implement the African Continental Free Trade Area and fill the gaps of others who are still being disadvantaged by the outside world.
We as Africans have a moral duty to refuse second-class status in the restrictions we accept from outsiders for managing our own finances and resources. So the time has come for us to stand together in insisting that our Bretton Woods institutions reconfigure the terms and conditions they have imposed on us for decades, leaving us in deeper poverty than they found us. We as Africans have a moral duty to refuse second-class status in our participation in the United Nations decisions that affect the peace, stability, and sustainability of our world. So the time has come for us to insist that Africa must have at least one permanent seat on the UN Security Council.
African true friends, he says, are not those who are satisfied to see the continent continuing languishing in poverty, but those who work side by side with them to increase their productivity and turning the continent's economies into engines of sustainable growth. The two-day summit ends tomorrow. Timo Andreas, NBC News, Windhoek.